Welcome to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where we feature top leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry with your host, Drew Hendricks. Now, let's get started with the show.
Drew Hendricks here. I'm the host of the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where I talk with leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry, from tech companies that enable wineries to operate at maximum efficiency, to today's guest, Shana Bull, who helps wine and lifestyle brands connect with their audiences through social media. Past guests of Legends Behind the Craft include Paul Salcedo, CEO of Bottle Van, Ashley Dubois-Leonard, CEO of Innovent, and Duncan Alney, President of Firebelly Marketing. If you haven't listened to these yet, be sure to check them out and subscribe. Today's episode, it's sponsored by Barrels Ahead. At Barrels Ahead, we work with you to implement a one-of-a-kind content strategy, one that highlights your authenticity, tells your story, and makes your business stand out from your competitors. So Shana, in short, at Barrels Ahead, we unlock your brand's story to unleash your revenue. Go to barrelsahead.com today to learn more. Now, before I introduce today's guest, I want to give a big thank you to Jim Sneidiger, co-founder and CEO of Stock Manufacturing. On last week's show, Jim gave some great advice for wineries who are looking to level up their brand experience in the tasting rooms. I am super excited to talk with today's guest, Shana Bull. When I saw Shana speak last year at the Direct Consumer Wine Symposium, I knew I had to have her on my show. Shana is a digital storyteller, marketing educator, and author. And Shana is super passionate about helping wine brands connect with their audiences by telling their unique stories through social media. In fact, Shana was just named by LinkedIn as one of the top 16 digital marketers to follow. Welcome to the show, Shana.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, and good
Excited.
seeing you again after, a year.
It is great to see you. We met for the first time over tacos. You had a little taco hospitality meeting.
It was kind of perfect because I've been to the DTC wine conference before, but I always lived in Santa Rosa in Sonoma County. And this time last year, I just moved to Concord, about 5 miles away from the Hilton. And I knew I wanted to have everyone go across the street to my favorite little hipster taqueria. That's what white people taqueria. Unfortunately, but it has damn good margaritas. So I was very
excited. I can
excited.
confirm.
So I was excited to see a bunch of people show up there, friends that I just met like you, and then Twitter friends that I've had for the last 10 years.
It's amazing. Yeah, I was sad that we didn't get to have it. We had to do it virtually this year.
I unfortunately missed out on this year, but I heard there was some good sessions, and everybody will see each other again back in Concord.
Oh, absolutely. And it is such a great cause just to support the Free the Grapes initiative.
Yeah, get wine across the United States. Those poor people that can't even access alcohol. I don't even know what I would do.
Yeah, it's hard
on
to
a
believe
Sunday morning.
6 states they're still holding out.
Yeah.
So, Shana, tell us about yourself.
So like you mentioned, I'm a digital storyteller. Having my own business for the last 12 years, I've had many random titles, but I've always stuck with digital storyteller because what I do is mostly social media, either management for clients. That's at least what I was doing in the past, and consulting with lots of different wineries and hospitality marketers. And I've always been a big fan of telling stories, and engaging with people and connecting with people. For me, wine has always been about the experience. It hasn't just been about, tasting notes. So when I first started as a wine blogger back in 2009, I was one of the youngest. And I was 27. And I wrote about experiences because that was what I loved about wine. I loved going to visit, and I loved events and hanging out with friends. And the wine was almost secondary. I'm not saying that good wine is not important, because obviously we were going to good wineries. I lived in Hillsburg at the time. And I always loved the experience. So digital storyteller is kind of my title that has stuck with me, because
I love that title.
Thank you. Another title that I don't officially have yet, but in a few weeks, I'm launching my first children's book.
Oh,
and it has nothing to do with wine. I tried, but it didn't really work out.
Yeah.
It's about a surfing spider named Randall, and I actually wrote it with my son when he was 2 years old.
Awesome.
And now we're launching it in a few weeks, and I'm just beyond excited. It's kind of where the pandemic took me. I wasn't ever expecting to make it a thing, but we had extra time this past summer due to losing clients because of the pandemic, and also I had to let go of some of my favorite clients because of the cancer treatments. But I'm doing better, and now I have a book because of it. And I was able to
what's the plot of this surfing spider?
So it's about a surfing spider named Randall, and he gets nervous. And thankfully his friend helps him face his fears. And it was basically, my toddler is a rambler. He's 5 now, so I can't even call him a toddler. But he was just telling stories all the time. And I finally was like, okay, I need to write this down. Like, I just need to figure out what he's saying. And then together we kind of wrote this book, and we have a few other ones that are kind of jumbled in our heads that we're going to get on paper too. I want to bring my food career into the book. Right now it's all about travel and surfing, which isn't necessarily, travel is a big part of my life. Surfing isn't. It was a part of my husband's because he grew up in Long Beach.
Oh, it's a big part of mine. It's kind of funny. The surfing spider. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got a black eye right now.
Oh my gosh, yes. The glasses hide it, but
I shouldn't have called everyone out on it, but yeah, the board hit me in the face 2 days ago.
Oh, yeah, you're based in Carlsbad, is that right?
Yeah, we're down in Southern California.
I love Carlsbad.
Try to surf most every day.
I went to college in Carlsbad. I don't know if I told you that.
What's that?
I lived in Carlsbad. I went to college in San Marcos.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah.
I'm a couple miles away from Cal State San Marcos.
Yep. And I worked at the Starbucks right at the flower fields.
Oh, really? Oh, man. Small world.
For about 3 years. Yeah, during college. And we wouldn't surf, but we would go and drink margaritas at the beach watching the sunset, or wine. That's actually when I've discovered that I like wine. I grew up in wine country, but I never liked wine because my mom drank box wine or White Zinfandel. And then my friend drank like really heavy Cabernets. And I was like, no, this isn't for me. And then I tried Pinot, and I was like, oh, this I like. Oh, I like. And ever since then, I've realized I like lower alcohol wines, or like odd varietals, stuff that isn't just Napa Valley Cab.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of lower alcohol, especially some of the Austrian ones. What's some of your favorites right now?
Right now, I would say Donkey and Goat and Root Down. Root Down Cellars. They're based in Hillsburg, but they make wine from all over. A lot of Mendocino County, a lot of, I think, Amador County. Don't quote me on that.
Sounds fantastic. One of my favorites is from Tablas Creek. Across the board, I kind of like their wines because they all tend to be less than 14%, then more in the European style.
And that's Paso Robles, right?
Right in Paso Robles.
Okay. I haven't gone down to them, but I have visited Paso wineries, and I've heard great things about them. Yeah,
I believe you just went down there.
Just last weekend, I was camping with my family in Avila Beach.
Oh, that place is great.
Yeah, at the KOA. It is.
I haven't been to the KOA.
Yeah, it's right off the freeway. I think all at KOAs are right off the freeway, but it's like 2 miles away from the beach. And if our 5-year-old was a little bit older, I think we would walk because there's a walking trail right to Avila Beach. But the last time I was there was no wine scene. And now all of a sudden, the San Luis Obispo wine scene is kind of popping up. There's like 2 wine bars on the ocean. They're 21 and over, so we didn't bring the 5-year-old. But I was excited to see all the wineries and wine shops doing really well. It was also spring break.
Yeah.
which I didn't realize.
Did you find any gems?
We did. I'm blanking on the name. We bought one from a little shop in Pismo. And you're putting me on the spot because I don't remember the name.
One of my favorites is San Lige. Did you go to San Lige there?
No,
Kurt
I haven't heard of
has
that one.
Yeah, he's one of the first ones down there in Pismo Beach to set up his tasting room. Now he's got a big one in Paso and a cider company, Tin City Cider, that I'm a fan of.
Fun. I look forward to going, without a kid and enjoying, or with the grandparents, so they can watch the kid for a little bit. That's key. That's how it. Yeah, he doesn't want to go wine tasting with me, even though I've always been a big fan of experiences, and there's a lot of different experiences at wineries that aren't just wine.
Yeah, you mentioned so the start of your digital storytelling was the experience of some of your first experiences of wine. What's a memorable one that sticks in your mind?
It was always events. I love the barrel tasting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Barrel tasting has obviously changed since I first started. I'm not going to say obvious because when I first started, it was like $4 in northern Sonoma County, and they gave you a glass. Apparently, before that, it was free, and you brought your own glass, and you just tasted out of barrels. But then it was $4, and you got a glass, and you got to go to a bunch of tasting rooms and just have fun with friends. Now it's like this 2-week long event, and it's all like 20 somethings, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. But I remember just loving it because I got to go try a lot of wineries. So I was one of those kids that was, a little intoxicated, and they probably looked down on me going, oh, she's never going to actually buy wine. And then I turn out to be like a wine judge and then 2 years later.
That's awesome.
So I don't discount the 21-year-olds or the young kids. They do care about wine in a different way. They don't want to hear about the terroir and all of that. They want to get to know the people behind the brand, and they're like, if they share core values, stuff like that. So
I agree, and I don't think that things have changed too much. When I graduated from college, when I was in, too many years ago, 93, I was 21 and got a job as a stock boy at a San Francisco liquor store.
Okay.
And in the course of 2 years, became a wine buyer for the store because I had such a great palate. But at that time, I was reading just everything I could about the terroir and everything, and then telling the stories of the wines, because it was just based, a lot of it then was based on the terroir and the geology.
Yeah.
But I do see today, and maybe that's a good question. How has the story of wine evolved over the last 10, 15 years?
Especially in the last year, winemakers and people behind the scenes are now kind of thrust in the forefront because of this virtual wine tastings. But this was a trend that was happening even before the pandemic. Experiences, people wanting to get to know the people behind the wine, and the connections. Like, if I have a connection at a winery, I'm going to go to them. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to remember that more than the taste of the wine. And it's really, social media has made it so important to create those connections with people. And then virtual wine tastings have just exploded over the last year. And I don't think, even when things open back up, I don't think that virtual wine tastings are going to go away, because now you realize you can connect with people all over the country and all over the world.
That's a great point, because you may visit from New York to Napa Valley, and you're not going back every year. Well, maybe you are, but most likely you go back once every 4 or 5 years, and you still want to be connected with that winery.
Exactly. Yeah. There is a bar in New Orleans called Jake and Snake Christmas Lounge that I still follow on Twitter and Instagram, even though I haven't been to New Orleans for 10 years. But I still love what they're doing, and I comment on their stuff, and I'm like, okay, as soon as I go back, I'm going there.
Oh, that's great.
It was obviously, I mean, the name, it's an obvious fun bar.
Sounds
So,
fun. I'm gonna
but
be looking up.
I met the owners and I had such a great time that like, I remember this and I tell anybody who goes to New Orleans to go there.
Oh, I'm writing it down right now. What so talking about the 21-year-olds, people growing up, people just entering the sort of the wine touring, the wine drinking community. What advice would you give wineries to reach these people through stories? You mentioned they're not so much interested in the geology.
I think really figuring out what your core values are. An article I just wrote about the like being authentic. Um, Wineries need to have a voice. And younger customers, especially younger customers, are wanting to connect with wineries, breweries, shoe brands that also they feel like they have similar values. And a lot of those values are social justice issues when it comes to race or LGBTQ issues, also sustainability. I mean, the younger generation is they're getting handed a world that, they're dealing with fires every single year. I mean, I'm dealing with fires every single year as well, but I remember hearing about fires like in Northern California. Like I grew up in Sonoma County and it was like every few years, but it happened somewhere else. And now it's literally every year in Napa and Sonoma. And now that I'm an hour south of Napa and Sonoma, it all the smoke trickles here. So kids are inheriting this earth that sees wildfires every year. And they're like, okay, we need people to do something about this. So I think if wineries are sharing how they're being sustainable, especially on social media, I think that's a great way to connect with people. But it's more than just sharing on social media. It's actually living that core value too, because it's really easy to find out that, a winery or a business is talking about something that they value and then doing the exact opposite by donating.
We won't
to
mention
people.
any names, but one sticks in mind where the winer that cut down all the oak groves in the darkness of night after they were told not to, like, oops, we don't know where they went.
Oops. And then like having a sustainability promotion for Earth Day. You're like, no. That you're not allowed to do that. We see through that.
Huge disconnect.
Yeah. Yep. And so that's a big thing that I'm a fan of wineries that are willing to put themselves out there right now, because I want to spend money with brands that I believe in. And I know younger kids do too.
Can you tell me a couple that are doing the right thing in the right ways?
The one that comes to mind right now is Iron Horse. I worked with them for a little while. But they're not a client of mine right now. So this is not a sponsored comment, but they are huge into sustainability and working with the people with the Russian River to make sure that is always clean. And they provide money from their gratitude wine to the Redwood Empire Food Bank.
Oh, nice.
So it's once a year they do a gratitude wine and they donate to that. And then their Oceans Reserve, they always donate $1 per bottle to nonprofits that help the ocean.
Oh,
so they're very big into to the cause marketing is part of it, but they also understand that they need to give back, that it's important to, save the whales.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. One that comes to mind that I'm a member of this winery, Stoltman. They're down in Santa Maria, and they've got a brand. Well, one of their lines is La Quadrilla, and all the proceeds go to the workers of the winery. And it's
that I love. That is important because these people are working like their butts off during harvest and they're not getting any credit. So I appreciate wineries that call out and treat their workers really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wente here in Livermore Valley, they're doing something because March was Women's History Month, and they were doing something, the Women of Wente, and they were sharing all the people behind the scenes. And I love that because it makes the people that work there like proud to be a part of that brand, but it also makes me realize how many people behind the scenes there are. So I
Well,
like
that
that.
makes for sure. Now, I was on your cruising your site, shanabull.com, and I see that you've got a series of courses out there right now to help educate people or help wineries educate themselves. Or tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've been in the social media marketing world within the wine industry for 12 years. And I started off teaching classes on Twitter and Facebook. And then obviously it has changed because of Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat and all of that. But it started off really being about connections. And then Instagram was all about video and pictures and a pretty picture. And so I created a course that was in person that taught people both the engagement part and how to create content, because creating content is ongoing. This isn't just like a campaign where you do something and throw it into Food and Wine magazine, an ad. It's you have to create content for every day. Almost every day if you don't want to post every day, and it's a lot of work. So I created a course called Recipe for Instagram, where I give marketers a recipe to plan, create content, engage with their online communities, and then how to make sales. Because obviously Instagram, it would be fun. You can play and you can scroll through, but you need to learn how to make a sale using social media tools like Instagram ads and how to do a good call to action. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, thank you. I also I was doing a lot of one-on-one ads or one-on-one counseling sessions with businesses. And I really just turned that into the course. And then I also have like social media resources on my website too, where people can download a workbook or a Google spreadsheet for like a 12-month content calendar. So that's made it a lot. I kind of been able to scale my business. So it isn't just one-on-one. So like when I lost a lot of clients during the pandemic, people were looking for, cheap kind of quick wins. And these social media resources were there to help people. And I loved being able to do that. And like when I was going through cancer treatments and I wasn't doing anything, I was literally bedridden for a month and a half last summer.
Man.
But I was still making money because people were going to this website. It was pretty cool.
Fantastic.
That's what I love about e-commerce. If you set yourself up, then it just kind of is like this waterfall that just keeps selling, even without the tasting room doesn't work that way. You obviously need people to be in the tasting room. But if you are able to set stuff up on your website where people set up SEO, where you got the right keywords that people are searching, then they come to your website and they decide to download maybe an ebook of recipes. That's one of my favorite things to do. I worked with Zap, Zinfandel Advocates and Producers, to create a Zinfandel and barbecue pairing guide, and people would download it and then they would be a part of the Zap email list.
I used to love the Zap tastings.
Huh?
I used to go to the Zap tastings every year back when I was
in San Francisco.
Wine. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's actually where I met one of my best friends, who introduced me to my husband.
Really?
So I'm basically saying Zinfandel introduced me to my husband, and now I have a son because of Zinfandel.
That's off to Zinfandel. So I love the part where you talked about how the wineries need to think beyond just the pretty pictures and adding color to their brand, but think of Instagram actually as a sales tool with a call to action. Would you say that that's one of the biggest mistakes that wineries are making with social media? Or is there a couple other ones?
Oh, there's plenty. Don't worry. No, that's any brand.
Sure.
Because honestly, the biggest mistake is time. A lot of wineries in the past were having like their wine club manager or someone in the tasting room do social media marketing. And it's more than just putting up a pretty picture of an image from the wine or the vineyard. It actually takes like strategy and insight and planning to create content, especially ongoing. So one of the biggest things is just thinking that anybody that's young can do social media, because that's not true. You have to have some type of marketing or customer service mindset to do it. And that can be taught. It really comes down to making sure that you have dedicated time to create content beforehand. So planning ahead of time, not just realizing you need to post in the spur of the moment and going, okay, I'm going to share a picture of this mug.
Let's just get a college intern to do it.
Yeah, no, that's not how it works anymore.
But you know what? That's been a stereotype forever. But even back when the internet just started, like, oh, let's just get a college kid to do our website.
Yeah.
You're young. You post on Facebook. Can you do our social media?
And over the last year, we've seen the wineries that have been able to pivot and really focus on e-commerce have done pretty good. They were able to double down on what was working already, and they were able to connect with their customers through virtual wine tastings and stuff like that. So they were able to sell wine online or get people to or deliver wine locally. So we were able to see a lot of wineries do some cool things.
Absolutely. This pandemic, one of the good, if there is a good side effect, is it finally kind of caused most of these wineries to actually come into the 21st century and actually start to think about their online sales.
It's true. I mean, when we spoke at the DTC wine conference, I remember Simon from Highway 29 Creative, he said, why are you spending millions of dollars on the lawn at your winery when you could, and then you're spending like $10 on your website?
I love that quote. I wrote it down. I was in that session when he said that.
I know it was not that exactly that, but the idea is there. Why are you spending thousands and thousands of dollars on this tasting room and then doing nothing to get people to come to the tasting room or come to your website?
Yeah.
Like that's where you should be spending your money. That's where you should be doubling down. And, I'm doing that for my own website. I have been doing Facebook ads for my own website for years. And I realized that I wasn't doing it properly. So I actually outsourced that to Taylor Corkin Fork. She also spoke at the DTC One conference because she can do it better. And
it's also the cobbler's shoes. It's very hard to do your own marketing.
It's so true. I'm realizing this with the book coming out. I'm having to do all my own marketing and I'm not getting paid for it. And that's weird. Like there's a chunk of time in the next few weeks that I'm not going to be getting a paycheck for all of this work that I'm doing. I'm so used to doing a lot of work for big events or launches and stuff like that, but I'm getting paid for it. Now it's like, oh, I'm not getting paid. I don't know what to do, even though I do know what to do because I have 12 years of doing marketing launches for brands. But when it's your own, it's personal. So it gives me a new sense of empathy for winemakers or wineries that are, very, very small, that it's like a 1 or 2 man operation.
Sure.
Because they're doing their social media, they're doing the sales, they're doing the winemaking, they're cleaning the bathrooms. They're doing it all.
Oh yeah. I find that when we do our own stuff, we tend to overthink it, or we tend to raise it up on a level that you don't give it almost too much attention. So it doesn't actually somehow, just at least for me, it doesn't accurately reflect what I'm trying to present. But if I tell it to someone else and they go and produce it, I'm like, you got it.
Exactly. So that's exactly it. I overthink it and then realize that people are not thinking about my content like I am. They're glancing at it going, oh, that's cute. Okay, next. They're not like staring at, a coffee stain on my shirt or something like that. Like I am. I'm like, I have to have everything perfect. Like, I don't even know if this podcast is going to be videotaped. That ages me.
we are videotaping.
We're recording it. So I was like, okay, I gotta put a nice shirt on, do my hair, not just have it up. And I was like, I don't know. So, but at the end of the day, the content is what matters, not the presentation.
Well, you look fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
No, we find that with content all the time, where especially like even with like some suppliers that you get a lot of these scientists, they're PhD level, and they go so deep into what they think should be on their site that they've missed like 7 steps that they just assume the enologist over at the winery is going to be able to connect all the dots.
Yes. Oh, especially that, because, you get into wine because you love wine and you love geeking out on it. But you realize as like a business owner that you have to talk a different way to your clients. And that's definitely where I recommend outsourcing some of the like copywriting or website design to someone who knows what they're doing and still is able to geek out on the wine.
So maybe you can help me here. There's so many channels popping up all the time. Now we've got Clubhouse, TikTok. There's probably a couple that I haven't even found out that popped up today. What advice would you give a winery trying to keep track of all these channels? I mean, they can't be on everything, but there's always that fear of missing out that you're not the first mover in the next channel. What advice could you give there?
Go where your customers are. I don't care how fun TikTok is or, Clubhouse is good for journalists. Your customers are mostly on Instagram and Facebook, and some are on Twitter. If you're a more national or worldwide brand, your customers are more on Twitter. But if you're a local winery looking to connect with people that are within, 100 miles, Facebook and Instagram. Focus on that. And then when you feel like you mastered them, then go somewhere else. But if you're still struggling with Facebook and Instagram, don't bother with anything else. Focus on that. That's
good advice. Not get one thing right, and that'll actually set you up. If the whole landscape evolves and suddenly everyone's on Pinterest is going to have to embrace some of these other social media kind of tactics. So it's going to transfer over probably.
What I will say about Pinterest, I want people to change their mindset about what Pinterest is. Pinterest is not a social network. It is a search engine. So if you think about that, some of the best ads I've done for a winery that I worked with that did not have a tasting room back 3 years ago, we did ads on Pinterest and sent people to an ebook and a recipe book. And we did ads on Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram, and Pinterest got the most conversions.
Really?
Yeah.
Duncan, I don't know if you know Duncan Alney. It's an Indiana-based social media company, Firebelly Marketing. He was on the show a couple weeks ago, and he was actually singing the praises of Pinterest for being able to like unify a brand through the boards and everything. So you guys are on the same level.
I love Pinterest. I am all for it. But if you think of it as just a way to do ads and then do boards that kind of showcases your core values, that's how you can look at doing Pinterest. That's not something you need to be doing every single day. You don't need to be creating extra content for that. Just pin pages from your website and then do ads. That's really all you have to be doing on Pinterest.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
And so as far as Instagram, here's something I ask pretty much everybody that is involved in social media marketing and giving advice on it. What do you feel about having your Instagram feed on your website?
I like it. For me, my Instagram feed is a good representation of the things that I care about. Wine, food, travel, family, and marketing. Like that's what I care about. So that's all you're going to see on my, my personal, which is a brand page, my Instagram page. So it being on my website, I think it's fine. Does it do anything? Not really. It's pretty, and it works. Instagram Reels don't translate to the website. Same with Insta or IGTV. So if you're really big on making sure that your Instagram feed is perfectly curated and every picture looks good with each other, if you're doing Instagram Reels and having it go to your website, that won't transfer over.
Sure. Oh, that's good advice there.
Yeah, I didn't know that until recently, and I was like, why isn't this here? I think it's fine. It's there. You with your website, you have to have 1 or 2 calls to action on each page. You don't want to have a lot, because then you don't want to necessarily send people to Instagram if you're on your website.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I kind of actually want to get them from Instagram to your website.
Exactly. That's what I try and do.
That's great. So going forward into 2021, hopefully we're coming out of this pandemic. What's some of the big challenges you see wineries facing?
Right now, we do see a light at the end of this tunnel in California. Here in the Bay Area, in my county, everybody over 16 is now allowed to be vaccinated, and people are getting vaccinated like crazy in California. And I'm so excited about that because it gives me a breath, I feel like I'm able to breathe. And what I want to see from wineries and hospitality businesses is how they are building trust with their customers. It's a challenge in general, because you have to, in order to make a connection with people, you have to know, like, and trust them. I don't know if you've heard that term.
Oh yeah.
But now the trust is so important. I want to see wineries sharing how they are being safe with their tables far away from each other. I want to see them wearing masks. I want to see them cleaning. I want to see them being safe, because that's going to inspire me to come back and like not be as anxious. I'm not going to get on a plane until I feel really comfortable. And right now I'm not there yet, which is why I'm doing like mini staycations where I'm traveling in my RV to somewhere like Pismo, which was 3.5 hours. In a few weeks, I'm going back to Santa Rosa and staying at a KOA in Petaluma.
Really? That'll be fun.
And I'm just going back up there. But I want to see, the challenge is to build trust and get people to not be as anxious about visiting. I know I've talked to a lot of people in the wine industry, and reservations are starting to come up on weekends, stuff like that. They're getting busier, and so they're starting to hire more, which is so good. That means that it's coming back.
That's fantastic.
I hope that some of the trends that we saw pre-pandemic, like the rise in e-commerce, delivery services, online experiences, and like more connections with their customers, I hope that doesn't go away, because that was trending before the pandemic, and then it was accelerated. And we know that wineries tend to like to be in their safe zone where, we're doing okay, so we're not going to rock the boat and do different things. But I just want them to continue focusing on e-commerce, because that's going to be so important moving forward, because unfortunately, this isn't the last crisis. And I'm not talking about worldwide pandemics. I'm talking about fires or floods, stuff like that. And when people can't come to your tasting room, they can go online.
And the 21-year-olds today, they've only purchased stuff online.
Yeah.
Think about going to a store secondarily, not as a primary.
It's true. I mean, I'm not going back to shopping for my groceries in person. Not for a while. Now that it's easy to do online. And then I go pick it up. It is fabulous. I love it. It saves me so much time.
Oh, absolutely.
And I will say, people like my mom, who she's I don't know, late 60s. She has purchased stuff online for the very first time in her life. Pre-pandemic, she was so scared to put her credit card on, Amazon or Target or wherever. She wouldn't do it. She's like, no, someone's going to steal my identity. I'm like, Mom, it happens, but it also happens at the gas station. Like that people steal your identity if you leave your house.
Oh yeah. No, my mom has gone wild on Amazon this year since the pandemic. The other day, she's like, I accidentally just bought a leaf blower. Why did you buy a leaf blower?
She probably got an ad for it. Ads are very specific.
Yeah, it was funny. I got a metal detector for Christmas. She thought I'd like it.
Yeah. Well, did you?
I have not used it yet, but it was a random gift. It was a gift I never knew I needed.
Yeah. Well, you're close to the beach. I get
like, yeah, when you're finished surfing, you can metal detect for an hour or so.
You got nothing else going on, right?
Thanks, Mom.
That's hilarious. Yeah. But, boomers have figured out how to buy things online, and they're not going to stop doing it just because they're allowed out of their house now that they're vaccinated. They've realized how easy it is. So that is going to be a trend that just keeps going. And the challenge for wineries is if they treat it like it is secondary to their tasting room.
That's a good point. Yeah, we also have an RV, and that's one of our biggest. We also have 3 dogs, so it's easy it's very convenient for us to travel that way. Have you heard of harvest hosts?
I have. I don't like dry camping. I'm not ready for dry camping yet. We have a 5-year-old that is still trying to learn how to potty train at night. So we need all of that extra water and fun stuff.
Yeah. Harvest Host allows, for people that are listening, they allow you to, it's a network of wineries and orchards and farms that'll allow you to park your RV on their property for the night.
All across the United States. And it's like Amazon Prime. You pay for the service for the year, and then you can stay at these places for free. I think it's so cool. Are you fantastic. Doing that?
Well, we're planning a trip. We're going river rafting on the Rogue River. So we're going to be driving from California up to Oregon at the beginning of June. We're going to hit a couple.
Okay.
We've got a couple hosts picked out, and we're going to see.
I think it's such a cool idea. I think once my kid is a little bit older, we can feel more comfortable. And my husband and I getting more comfortable with camping. We've never been camping people, but the RV we bought last summer because we just were like, okay, we need to go somewhere. And we went a half hour away. Like we weren't going crazy. Mm-hmm. We were going a half hour away, and it was fabulous. We felt normal for a little bit. And that's what I'm excited to see, more wineries kind of as self-care for people going out in public.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so kind of wrapping things down here, I do have to ask you, what advice can you give somebody for the perfect elaborate cheese board? This was in your bio, so I want to know what.
Okay.
We need some cheese board advice.
Have fun with it. No, I am obsessed with following this woman named Meg on. Now I'm blanking on her Instagram handle. I'll have to share it with you so you can put it in the show notes, because oh my gosh, she makes the coolest boards, and she does a really good job of teaching you how to do them. These elaborate cheese boards that have become super popular because of Instagram, when you really break it down, it's not that hard to do. Like if it's like following a recipe, when you look at it, it might feel scary, but when you break things down, it's actually really easy to make. So Trader Joe's is a great place to get the cheese. Just
Absolutely.
Get a few things of cheese. You have to have something to put that cheese on. You have to have a dip. And then you have to have either like something salty and something sweet.
I'm always sad when I don't see like a jam or a honey or some sort of sweet thing that I can put on the cheese.
Exactly. And then you have to pair with either beer or wine. I'm going to say
Absolutely.
beer because I love a good beer and cheese pairing.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
What's a beer you're drinking and a cheese you eat it with?
All of them. No. Any like non-IPA beer, in my opinion. Like I like stouts with cheese. Ooh. And pilsners or even sours.
Yeah, that would be good.
So the great thing about a cheeseboard is there's a little bit of something for everyone, and it is a complete meal. So it is dinner. Mm-hmm. You got charcuterie, you got vegetables, you got fruit, you got starch. And then you pair it with a few bottles of wine and see what works best. It just makes it fun. And what I've been loving is that during the pandemic, people are making smaller cheese boards. It isn't just the giant ones where you share with friends and family. You can make one for yourself.
Oh, that's fantastic advice. Today we've been talking with Shana Bull. Where can people learn more about you and find this course?
So shanabull.com, ShanaBull.com, or find me on Twitter and Instagram as Sherere. It was an old inside joke at a marketing agency I worked at back in 2008 when Twitter first became a thing. Sherere, my maiden name was Ray, so Shana Ray. So it was Sherere. And I never changed it because Shana Bull sounds really stupid. It was too late, so I couldn't get just Shana Bull on those handles. So website, shanabull.com. Everywhere else, Sherere. I have a daily social media checklist that's free on my website that people, if you're worried about creating content ongoing, this kind of helps break it down. And it's free. So go to my website and get that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I appreciate being a part of this. And I look forward to seeing you next year at the DTC Wine Conference here in my hometown.
Absolutely.
My new hometown.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.